Hello. In in this video here, I want to show you something which sometimes if you're going for senior roles, sometimes they will ask you to provide, and that is a presentation. So here I've got one of the presentation which I made and presented to a panel of recruiters. So I will take you through the presentation to show you what it means to be a security assurance coordinator and what other things you have to bear in mind. Along the way, I will be pointing a few clues here and there so that at least it's not just a dry cut kind of presentation, but at least there is some of the other things we are noticing. So with that, I welcome you here. So first of all, in my bio, because I had to present also a CV. So what I did is I took part of the CV inside so that at least I'm planting a seed, so to say. So here it said working giving accreditation certificate to Tier B in His Majesty government project. So Tier B is top level budget. So i- im- let me explain what top level Tier B is all about. So here you would have the cabinet office, which is at the top. Then here you have got Navy, here Royal Air Force, and here we have got army. So within the, let's say, the navy, you'd have a unit of some sort on a, let's say, on a ship. So what it entails is from the cabinet, here we have got an organization called DIAS. Now it's called CIDA, something like that, which means the Cyber Security Directorate. They move from DIAS, which is also an acronym. So these people, when they get a project which says is coming from the unit, this unit, let's call this unit A, from the Navy. So then this Navy here will be called POSYA. So this is the principal security apparatus or assurance. So what happens is the project will go back. Let me get a different color so I can demonstrate that. So this is a project here, project, let's say X. So the project, if it is coming from this unit A, that means DIAS will send it back to the Navy. So the Navy is the TLB, top level budget. So they'll get the whole budget. Instead of this project stays to be dealt with DIAS, it will be dealt by the Navy here. And this project being dealt by the Navy, I mean, talking to the unit to making sure that the unit is fully aware of their obligations onto that project. So this will be called amber channel. So amber channel will be the one being dealt by the Navy as the TLB. So that's how it works. So the Navy will be the one making sure that that project is assured and is safe for people to use. So hence we get this term TLB for His Majesty government. So this is the UK government. Now the certificate of accreditation in this case with the amber, it will be issued by DIAS through their representative, the TLB. So that's how it works. So that's that done. Now, work to facilitate accreditation. Now, in order to make sure that that project A has got the accreditation, the project manager, including the accreditor themselves, they work together. So you have got the project manager and other project stakeholders. So the other project stakeholder could be the CISO, which is the Chief Information Security Officer, or the CIRO. I think this is Senior Information. I'm not sure what the arrow for, but for the organization. So he's the top man in there. Then, but you have the CISO. So these are the stakeholders. So these stakeholders, together with the project manager for that project A and the accreditor, the one who gives this accreditation certificate here, they will make sure that they all together facilitate that the accreditation is going on. So the accreditor, talking of the accreditor, is mandated to tell the unit or the TLB that for them to say this accreditation is okay, they need to use NIST framework, they need to use the cyber assessment framework, they could also use ISO 27000, so you get 20001 and so forth. And also they have to use this framework called His Majesty Standard 1 and 2. So all of these, they are there so that you can manage the cyber risk. So as I mentioned, the cyber risk is there. It could be a vulnerability which maybe has been uncovered or would be uncovered through using these frameworks here or these publications here. Now here also experience in implementing. So you are implementing the this framework or cybersecurity, let's say here using exploit program, which is a little bit misleading there. So here what I wanted to say was the experience in using cyber tools for penetration testing program, i.e. the offensive capability. So in a nutshell of is that I'm able to use tools like Nmap to target, let's say, this is computer B. So I can be able to compromise computer B using the Nmap tool and hence the offensive capability. So this is just a good term to use in this case. Okay, let's go to the next where we want to look at the actual question which was posed so that I answer in this presentation. So what they asked was information security compliance management versus risk management, which is the best between risk management and compliance. So the way I answered this, or before I answer, let me elaborate a little bit so that at least we are on the same page. So the information security compliance, let's put a line there. We could call it SC, security compliance. So the security compliance versus risk management, which is the best. So we could put here RM for risk management. So let's look at first the definition for security compliance. So in security compliance, you in this case we are going to use for Visa. Now the Visa card has got some information on there which needs to be protected. So the Visa, they introduce a way of similar like a framework, but a way or a tool rather, we could say instead of a framework, a tool which could identify if the details on the card they are not being kept very well. So we'll use PISDSS. So it's called. Uh, Let me go back there. So for the Visa card, it's called PCI DSS. That's the standard which you need to apply to the Visa card so that you know that the details of the Visa card, the organization are keeping them safe. You know? So this is the safe. So the information has to go in the safe, but it's certain selected information which needs to go in there. Hence, the PCI DSS Visa will tell you the methodology and the information which needs to be kept there. So somebody, whilst the safe there, there's a window. So this crook or a burglar can jump in the window and steal the safe itself, or more, they can play with the combination and get out the information that way. So this will be now classed as the risk management. So we are thinking of how to make this window secure so that hence we are also securing this. So we could put reinforcement so that no one can go in. So which is the best? Do we just go for risk management straight, or we need to have a PCI DSS and leave the risk manager for that outside? It will take care for itself, or we need to do both. So hence we have got this question, which is the best? So let's look at the definition and the answers to this. So let's start with the definition. So in the definition here, you see that the information security compliance is a legal standard which must be implemented in full. So there is no um, going again and again. No, is you start from A to B and then you implement it in full. Now, what other thing uh, do we need to look at in terms of security compliance? So there are several things we need to look at when we are doing the compliance itself. So here, let me be ticking them off as I'm explaining to you. So here you have got the GDPR. So this is EU, including UK. So they use this law to protect the private data. So your name might be your age, might be also your uh, gender, and the list goes on. So all this information in that card, they need to be properly secured. You can't just leave them anywhere else and in the public, so someone else can pick them up and pretend to be that person and be able to use that information to break into that bank. Then we have got HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability. So this one is used in the hospital. HIPAA is used in USA. So this is a standard from USA. So it's common in USA to use this. So if you go to USA and you get a job, you end up doing HIPAA there to make sure that the health sector there is not being the information or is not getting hacked. Then we have itself the Payment Card Industrial Data Security Standard, a mouthful, PCI DSS. So this applies to US plus UK plus Europe because this is to do with the Visa card all over the place where it's being used. So all the information which needs to be closely guarded, you use the PCI DSS to find out if an organization has lost that information or is properly secured. So the next one is what could be the result of using non-compliance for PCI DSS. So if you use this without following the rules, you get charged. You get about 5,000 US dollars to 10,000 US dollars um, per month, which you'll be paying until compliance is achieved. So it's in your best interest to make sure that the information is really watertight, secure. So what is cyber risk management? So this is the process of reducing. Let's stop and define a little bit so you can have a good understanding of what we are talking about here. So this is a process. It's not compliance where you start from A to B and you give the certificate. In risk management, you start from A, you go C, you go B, you go E, and you could get the certificate, but then it still goes on. Then you have F, G, H, so forth. It doesn't stop, it just goes on. So this is accreditation. Whilst along the way, you get the certificate. So this certificate, they will be either for 3 years or less. If none of the certificate is given, then the project is sometimes could be already in the risk balance case so that they could still be using it whilst they know that there's a certain risk they are trying to mitigate. So that's the process here. And by going through all that process to reach a final certificate, there is a probability of exploitation. So from the outside, they could be probably break into it. So this sentence here is looking at already existing vulnerability, and then you need to do identification of the threat posed to the asset, i.e. the product you are trying to maintain to make sure is secure. Okay, so how do we calculate risk then? Because we have talked a lot about risk, so we need to quantify the risk. So this is how we do in calculating the risk. We want to come up with numbers so that the accountant can be able to pay for the cost of the project. That's hence we need to have a certain form so we can show that the risk of not doing or doing will cost the company, let's just put 30% of the annual profit, and the shareholders won't be happy. So the impact of the risk we are trying to mitigate here is this is the objective of the actual business not being met. The likelihood is where we have got the vulnerabilities, the threat, the exposure to attacks, and the implementation of the security control like padlock on the door. So we need to have a padlock on the door and also calculate whether someone else can come and steal that padlock and use it in the dog shed. You know, so they are using that padlock. So we need to calculate whether it's important to go down that route. So we have got that one out of the way. Now, here, what are the characteristics of cyber risk? Now, the cyber risk here, we have got, because in any area, or we are trying to do a process of a certain process where we have got IT, this could be an ongoing process where we are validating whether the risk is there or not, or how we could make it more secure. So we have the quantitative for reporting the risk. So hence we have got risk equals likelihood times impact. Now the risk-based non-mandatory industrial standard, hence this is outside the quantitative. You have the NIST 800, the ISO 13,000, and then we have also here the IS 1 and 2, which is the framework we are using. Then also the non-mandatory subset. This is just a subset of the the NIST special. I think this is special publication 800-171, which here is looking at controlled and classified information. Now, here it gets a little bit tricky because we are using the PCI DSS, i.e., the information on the Visa card, i.e., the name, the account number, then you have the sort code, then you have also that black line where you have got also more private uh, information. Now, if you take this card to a shop, so you take it to a shop and then you buy, let's say this time you end up buying a drink. You can go, maybe you have gone into that shop 40 times. Now the card itself, using it again and again, it will have those information of how much you have end up buying, and this is the customer behavior. So this is customer's data, but this is his behavior. But this might not be the one which is mentioned to be looked at under PCI DSS as part of the regime using the Visa card, what information you should store, which you should not store. So this is the information which we will call is um, controlled but unclassified. We haven't defined whether it's sensitive, whether it's official sensitive, whether it's secret, or maybe it's top secret, or is Five Eyes. So all of these, as the government, they need to determine to make sure that the controlled and classified information, you should use this publication to know how to treat that information. And the revision of 800 Dutch 53 alpha. So the alpha there, it means this publication, it means is full on. There is no um that means you are covering from the base to the top. So when you are using this, but in most cases you find that you need 800 53B, which is you need to strike first the baseline. So the baseline will give you the common vulnerabilities. Before you go to the alpha one, which is heavy, and also we will need more information on there. So my advice is use the NIST 800 53B first, and also use the 800 171 to look at that data which needs to be secured. So once that data has been collected, i.e. the one which we are legitimate told to collect and the one which is unclassified, how can we use these two so that we make the correct decision? So here I've said in practice, compliance of PCI DSS and risk management NIST special publication 800-171. Here you are collecting the customer habits. So when you collect the customer habits using the 171 NIST, you should be able to protect controlled classified information, i.e. the consumer habits, the purchase habit, and maybe the also consumer motivation. So you don't need to abuse it, but you need to follow that publication so that that information is properly uh, uh, taped off or properly looked after using the uh, assurance. So in conclusion, customer purchasing habits could be managed by NIST Special Publication 800-171, which is called Uncontrolled and Classified Information. Then the Visa card information could be compliant to PCI DSS, so you need to separate the two. So risk management and compliance are two symbiotic tools which work best by using their outcome to uncover gaps within the accreditation requirements. So that marks the end of this presentation. So I thank you for viewing.